This week, FIH Inside the D is heading back in time. We're returning to the home of hockey to trace the steps of where it all began. Bushy Park in Teddington, on the outskirts of London. It was here where the foundations were laid for the game we know today. We'll be looking back at some of the landmark moments of the sport and, of course, keeping up with all things current. Coming up, Mad Maddie.
Oh my goodness.
Swapping sticks.
That was the birth of the Indian stick. It is much shorter.
And mastering the dribble.
This is how it's done.
First up, though, is the story of how hockey, as we know it today, began. And for this, we turn to one of Teddington's own.
I'm Evie Wood, goalkeeper at Teddington Hockey Club. You can date stick and ball games back to prehistoric times in Egypt around 2000 BC. Fast forward several centuries, and a more recognisable version of the game emerged in the 1750s, mainly developing in British public schools. As far as the more modern version of hockey goes, the start of this can be traced back to 1862 in Blackheath in South East London, where the first official club started. But under their rules, the game was played with a cube instead of a ball. The pitch was 200 yards, which is almost double the size of the pitch today, and they played 15-a-side instead of 11. And so it came down to Teddington. As you can see, this is a cricket club, but the players needed a winter activity to keep them going throughout the colder months. So in 1871, they came up with the start of hockey as we know it today. There are three crucial differences. They played on a smaller, even pitch, they limited the amount of players to 11, and most importantly, they played with a cricket ball instead of a cube. Since then, the rules have been tweaked countless times, but this is where it all officially started.
From an aspiring Team GB goalie to a keeper currently rated as best in the world. But when Maddie Hinch turned up for a recent engagement, two teammates made sure her skills would be tested to the max.
This is Maddie Hinch, Olympic gold medalist and the #1 hockey goalkeeper in the world. This is her favourite childhood toy, Baby. But more about that in a moment. And these are her teammates. Unbeknownst to Maddie, they've secretly organised a training session she'll never forget. She's been told she's here today for a promotional photo shoot. But Maddie's got no idea what's about to happen.
What is going on?
Maddie, step out of the lift.
Oh my goodness. Is that my TV? Is that my baby?
Yes, it's your baby.
You will experience a series of tests.
Who's talking?
The first one is called Firing Squad.
You will need to display superhuman instinct if you're going to save your possessions.
From 20 balls, all firing at 90 kilometers per hour.
From a distance of 8 meters. Say goodbye to your baby.
Coffee machine, your Olympic gold winning kit.
And your MBE.
Baby is going down.
When you hear the beep, the test will begin.
Oh, I'm nervous. I'm nervous for it. Baby's gone. Baby is down.
Your test is complete.
Baby is in the corner.
Baby.
You killed it.
No.
Take the lift for your next test. Maddie,
This time, you'll be trying to save your entire wardrobe. Do you have a favourite dress?
My MBE dress. I like that dress.
this test is called Hell Run. The ball will be fired sequentially at a dress every 2 seconds. Each dress is precariously balanced in front of a vat of paint. One more thing. Take your new phone from your kit bag and place it on the last mannequin now.
She's scared.
Good girl. Did you save your favorite dress?
Yes.
Good. Make your way to the next test.
And we'll see if Maddie can complete that challenge later on in the show. Right now, it's back to the history lesson. Here's Andy to pick up the story.
From its official formation in 1875, hockey's rise was rapid. In 1887, the first women's team began, Molesey Ladies, and within a decade the UK had around 200 clubs. 1895 saw the first international match as Ireland beat Wales, and by the turn of the century, hockey had started to take off across Europe and beyond. With Britain's overseas interests in the empire, the sport also quickly grew in India, so much so that from their inclusion in the 1928 Olympics, India won 7 of the next 9 golds, Pakistan with the other 2. During this time, the women's game continued to thrive at home and abroad, including the USA. Crowds of up to 70,000 filling London's Wembley Stadium at the pinnacle of a golden age. And in 1980, female teams finally entered the Olympics, Zimbabwe shocking the world to take the first gold. The previous decade had seen the beginning of the World Cup for both genders, Pakistan defeating India en route to beating hosts Spain in the first men's final. 2 years later, it was the Dutch who triumphed on home soil. And in 1975, it was India's turn to take the title with victory over their arch-rivals. The 76 Montreal Olympics marked a pivotal change in the sport, with the introduction of synthetic pitches. It largely prompted the end of India and Pakistan's dominance, benefiting the more affluent nations who could afford artificial surfaces. With some notable exceptions, the ensuing decades have seen the Netherlands, Germany and Australia emerge as the powerhouses in both the men's and women's game. Argentina more recently adding their name to that list. And that's your very brief history of hockey.
Not only has India been a prominent player in the evolution of the sport, but it also proved a vital nation in shaping the modern game, quite literally.
The evolution of the hockey stick starts in the early part of the 19th century with people making what we call hedgerow sticks. going to the hedgerow, cutting out a piece of wood that has a bend on the end of it. By the 1870s, people were playing a structured game to rules and they needed better equipment. And so they used English ash wood. It was easily bent, so that gave us the English head stick. We had a large army in India playing sport. Instead of importing stuff, they started to make sports equipment in India. But they had no ash, so they had to turn to a wood called mulberry. Much harder, doesn't bend as easily. And so when they manufactured these sticks, it meant they had breakages. They had to find a use for those broken sticks, and that was the birth of the Indian stick, an English head shape, but it is much shorter. With the English head stick, you have to go behind the ball. The Indian head stick, instead of being behind the ball, you're going over the top of the ball, much faster. And so that was the way in which the Indians became so outstanding at hockey through the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, winning the Olympics time after time. Many European sides were still using longer heads like this, and the Indians were using their very nimble and quick short heads. From there, you came to the modern era, where sticks are made from composite materials, but heads are still very short. That is a quick resume through the hockey stick.
And as the country who used their stick to perfect the dribble, who better than one of their own to demonstrate it in this week's masterclass?
It's gone in under Lalit Upadhyay, gets a fourth for India.
Hi, this is Lalit Upadhyay. I'm from Indian hockey team. I'm a striker. This is how you dribble. First, we have to be low like this. Our body, the central gravity, it will be here. And the second step is our left hand. Our left hand should be on top of the hockey here. It should be moved like this. First, second, 1, 2, 1, 2. Left, right, left, right, left, right. We move our wrist. And third, low like this, and the ball should be always in the center of gravity, and we can start moving the left hand slowly, slowly till left and right, from left and right. This is how it's done. Good luck.
After that wizardry, it's time to take a breather. But join us again for lots more action after the break. You're watching FIH Inside the D, which this week is looking back at a history of hockey. So we're better to come than the Hockey Museum here in Woking, filled with some incredible memorabilia, including an award-winning book, which has some very special memories for me. The History Makers. What was it that made you decide that you were going to write about it?
Both me and Sarah Juggins, the other author, we'd been following the team for a long, long time, both as writers and fans. And I think we knew the journey the team had been on from not qualifying at Athens in 2004 right through to winning the gold medal and all of the ups and downs that came along with that. So we just felt it was a great story to tell.
I think the most challenging thing was actually trying to access the players, because after the Rio Olympics, they were everywhere. You know, they were appearing on TV, they were appearing on radio.
Rio was just particularly special off the back of a team that no one really saw as even achieving a medal, let alone a gold medal.
The most memorable thing was how you grew through the competition. I think it was noticeable. Winning the first game, second game, third game, you got better and better and better, and I think that's something that will stick with me for a long, long time.
As a player, when it came through the post, looking at the pictures, it just brought back so many memories.
The 16 lucky women who stood on the podium were representing every woman that had played in our sport before us that had believed and wanted that for so long. We're going to have young people that have an aspiration to do the same, and that's what makes that whole occasion so special to me.
And it has been an incredible book. You've been nominated for a number of awards. You've won the Best Sports Illustrated book.
The winner of this award is History Makers. It's by Richard Stanthorpe and Sarah Juggins.
It has turned into something which does mark the legacy of what you've done, because we've seen that kids do turn up to get these books signed by you guys, so they are being inspired.
The fact that people want to buy the book, the fact that people want to talk to the athletes and they want the athletes to come and talk to them, the fact that 10,000 people come and watch the opening game of the World Cup. It's about showing that women's team sport matters, not just hockey, but the netball, the football, the cricket, the rugby. And actually, if you're a little girl who can kick a ball or hit a ball or run around, there's a future in women's team sports for you. And I think that's what this legacy is all about, is showing that anything is possible.
For the man who masterminded that Olympic triumph, his new challenge, to lead England's men at the upcoming World Cup in India, now just 2 weeks away.
For 13 years I've said head coach of the women's programme, and now have to put the word men. So yeah, it's going to take a little while to get used to. I remember when I was interviewing in sort of late 2004, they literally asked me that classic question, what's your vision? And I didn't talk about winning gold medals, I talked about sort of a lot of other nations have these sort of superstars of the game up as posters. I talked about, well, we could do the same with the likes of Alex Danson, and here we are 13 years later, my daughters have posters of Alex Danson and Maddie Hinch and people like that in their bedroom. You know, the journey we've come on and how we've inspired literally tens of thousands of people, I'm very proud about that. I felt a lot of loyalty to members of the women's squad and to what we've tried to rebuild. At the same time, I was really wondering whether the women's squad needed fresh leadership and fresh ideas, and then what I also needed in terms of re-energising me. I felt it was right for myself and right for the women. I made a late call to apply and then found out just after the World Cup. The men, I think they have that's the same ability, the same potential, and I've come across a really united, energised, keen, committed group of guys. They are your raw ingredients. I'm really enjoying it, and I really believe in what they're capable of doing. I think there are some people that over the next few years will sort of fall into that category of inspiring people just through their sheer ability and commitment to the team. I think the World Cup in India is special. The people in Bhubaneswar love their hockey. I think the crowds will be big and fervent. I'm not going to be sat here and quoted on where we're going to finish. Everyone will expect the likes of Australia, Belgium, the Netherlands and others, Argentina to Germany, to be sort of pushing for medals. So, we can let people look at those and go about our business.
While Danny turns his attention to the Men's World Cup, for the women, it's all about the Champions Trophy, which starts on the 17th of November in Changzhou, China. And whatever happens, it will do well to live up to the final 2 years ago.
It's the current Olympic world champions, the Netherlands, against the reigning Champions Trophy title holders, Argentina. Saka, Van Marsaka, what a save! But Belensucci is on the reverse stick, fired it in, it's gone in, it's been touched in. Aguirre is burying a wave. Oh yes! It's Netherlands 0, Argentina 2. This Van Marsaka, little slip. Hola! Oh, what a penalty corner that is! The last throw of the dice here for the Dutch to try and take us to a shootout. And it is another Champions Trophy title.
Some fabulous scenes there. Argentina celebrating, yes, their 7th Champions Trophy win.
From record breakers to street skills, here's this week's trick shot.
Hi, I'm Lane, and this trick is called the scissor kick. Keep the ball on your stick, jump over your stick, and throw the ball up in the air. Just like this. Keep your stick in one hand, jump over your stick and the ball, throw the ball up in the air and get it back on the stick. Yeah? So you can do it one time. You can also keep the ball on your stick, jump to the other side and jump back while you keep the ball on your stick. Just like this, jump, back and keep it up.
Now, when we left her earlier on in the programme, Maddie Hinch survived the challenge set by her teammates. But how would she get on with the next one? Time to find out.
Maddie, your next test is called Squad Goals. Your challenge is to save a precious object on the opposite side of the goal from being hit by the ball. Reveal target 1.
Trust in you, Mads.
Are you going to save your friend?
Yes.
When you hear the beep, the test will begin.
Come on, Maddie, you can do it. Come on.
Good. For the second target, the goal will be increased by 50%. Reveal target 2.
Oh my goodness.
You will now have to travel 18 feet to keep the ball from hitting your dad. When you hear the beep, the test will begin. Well done, Maddie. You saved your dad.
Thank you.
For the third target, the goal will increase by another 50%. Reveal target 3.
Just remember who gave birth to you.
I'm glad we cleared that up. When you hear the beep, the test will begin.
Come on, Mads. You got it, girl.
Well done, Maddie. Give your mum a hug.
I knew you could do it.
You stopped your friends and parents from sustaining serious injuries. You truly are a legend of the game.
Oh my goodness! Girls! I stink because I'm so sorry. We don't care.
Did you know?
No, they clear.
You weren't too sassy?
Not too sassy.
Not too much of a princess?
This is definitely counting as a training session.
While we let Maddie recover, here's Andy with what's been happening around the world.
First up, the groups and venues have been announced for next year's FIH Series finals for the 24 men's and women's teams chasing a place at Tokyo 2020. Malaysia, India and France will host the men's events, Ireland, Japan and Spain the women's, all to be played between April and June. Already celebrating Olympic gold on Instagram, Argentina's women and Malaysia's men who took the top prize at the Youth Olympics in Buenos Aires. Elsewhere, Jonas is back with some more outrageous trick shots. And ahead of the Men's World Cup in Odisha, PR Srijesh is getting the local crowd in good spirits with some tasty moves. Over on Twitter, several of the countries have announced their squads who'll take to the field in Bhubaneswar from the 28th of November. You can keep up to date with all World Cup action on the FIH YouTube channel.
And that's where we head to next time when Inside the D travels to India for the Men's World Cup. We'll see you soon.